If more of you supported the show, I'd be less sick of podcasts.
Blah, blah, blah.
Sending out good vibes.
Blah, blah, blah.
Good vibes. Good vibes. Good vibes. Good vibes.
108 breaths of deep gratitude and prayers for guidance and protection. And put on a didgeridoo and shamanic drumming track. Shivers or vibrations and stuff like that.
Grimerica.
It's going to get worse and worse and worse. Like we're not able to call out like unequivocally this is a fact or not. And now we've got this introducing it to just make more problems for us.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica show. We're going to be chatting with Jack Rhysider a little bit later from the podcast Darknet Diaries. It's a fun show. He's what I would call like a Darknet journalist. It's a fun show. We had a great time. It was the last show we did before Christmas. And it's the first show we're doing. Well, we're not fully set up yet, but we're closer to fully set up than we were on Saturday. That's for fucking sure. And it's our regular time, so we're hoping there won't be any heavy equipment running. We're excited. We got some shit on the walls. We got Brody back. Everything's good. And of course, we got everyone's favorite fucking interviewer, Graham. I'm kicking up a storm down here, Dunlop.
Hey, buddy.
So we tripled the space, and you're still feeling claustrophobic.
Yeah, because you got the table up against the wall, and I can't get out of my seat without hitting the wall, and I just wanted a little bit extra space. Like
it's production.
I've been stuck in an 8x8, Faraday cage for 4 years now.
And now we're not.
Anyways, this episode, I do regret not talking about more about. I feel like we missed opportunity to talk more about the deeper dark web. We talked about his stuff and a few of his shows. I mean, he's got some amazing podcasts. Like I was listening to a few of them, and it's incredible. Lots of information, like real putting together, real crime stories of the internet, of the dark web.
Is your voice fucked or?
Yeah, you gotta fix his cage or something.
No, it's just a bit. I'm not feeling them really too good. I don't want to admit it.
Okay. Well, so you got to speak up, or I can turn you out.
It's fine.
Okay. You'll power through.
Yeah, I'll power through.
You get on there. Yeah, okay. You got to eat that motherfucker like a dick. All right. So, sorry. It's a hate crime. Did I hate crime you?
Microaggression.
Oh yeah, it is a microaggression. It's a macroaggression. So what do you got, buddy? I want to make sure the jingle board's working.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I got to. Okay. Well, do you want to start off with something a little crazy? It might be a little hard to read. I don't know if you can follow along or not, but it's the gematria extension to the Theismann Smith broken leg synchronicity.
Nice.
I was looking it up for some people the other day, and I couldn't believe the other stuff that we didn't even get in that first synchro, which was just basic, like the basic dates and the basic facts of the two injuries. Do you want to get into that right away?
We're doing that again? So that would be what, the synchro jingle, I suppose?
Sure.
All right. Let's do this one.
Synchronicity, it's time for another installment of the Canadian Third Party Synchronicity Rating Authority.
I don't even know if this is a synchro. It's kind of a deeper one. It's almost like a digital universe type thing, like proving that. I don't know if it's meaningful to anybody. A synchro is supposed to be like a meaningful coincidence. Should I just relay the basic synchro again?
You want to rerun us through the broken leg synchro? Sure.
So history repeats by the numbers. So Washington Redskins quarterback Alex Smith broke his leg on the 40-yard line in a home game on November 18th. Exactly 33 years to the day after Redskins quarterback Joe Theismann broke his own leg on the 40-yard line in a home game on November 18th. So same yard line, same date. And not only was Theismann in attendance for Smith's injury, but both games in question also finished with the exact same score, 23-21. I mean, that's That's fucking incredible. Both QBs had the right leg snapped by the, I'm glad I'm reading this again because it's.
Oh, boy.
They had the right leg snapped by the only 2 3-time Defensive Player of the Year winners in NFL history, Lawrence Taylor and J.J. Watt. I mean, when I read it again and I think about that,
Into the mic.
that's crazy. Both men who go by abbreviated nicknames, LT and JJ. And that's not even taking into account the occult numerology that you just know is going to be deep encoded. So while there are a lot of gematria decoders out there that assume the NFL, along with other pro sports, are completely scripted and staged events, a perfect orchestration of final scores, yardage, and even fake injuries. Here we find some gruesome footage of both Theismann and Smith's injuries. Pretty hard to fake that without some next level movie magic. So how do we explain it? Smith and Theismann broke their thighs, man. Nothing. No reaction out of you. You're just like, are you even paying attention?
Is it just because it's Theismann?
It's just a little fucking joke in there. You just in fucking La La
I thought that
Land
was
right
the
now.
fucking.
He's thinking about how he broke 2 TVs in the move, and he's looking at the wall. It's like, we need another TV now in the other room.
Gematria, not gamatria.
I said gematria. Fractal time in a holographic universe, maybe. Or something even crazier. Life is a wheel and history repeats by the numbers. Another spin around the dial, a nearly identical situation occurs like the ritual assassinations of Lincoln and JFK. So that's the one we went into last time as well. And so here we have the gematria numbers. Smith equals 33. Theismann equals 33. Joe Theismann won his only Super Bowl at the age of 33, a span of 33 months before his injury. Smith was hit by Watt, 1330, born 133, and Theismann by Taylor, born with 330 days remaining in the year. The upcoming Super Bowl, what is L3, L11? What is L?
I don't know.
Anyways, I don't know what that is in Roman numerals. Is it,
L?
Yeah.
Hey Siri, what's a Roman numeral L? Hey Siri, you fuck. What's a Roman
Darren,
numeral
Why do you
L?
even have that thing in here?
I don't know how to respond to that.
Hey Siri, what's a Roman numeral L?
I found something on the web about what's the Roman numeral L. Check it out.
You have to respond?
No,
Oh, they don't
that's as
tell
far
you?
as it goes.
They should just give you
coulda
the
used
first sentence.
We could have used the Google one if I wouldn't have killed it. L is 50.
That's what I was going to say, 53. Okay, so,
No, 50 per L.
yeah, there's L11, L-I-I.
Yeah.
So 53.
53.
Yeah. So the upcoming Super Bowl 53 equals 33/330. In Atlanta equals 33. At the stadium named Mercedes-Benz, 133. 33, the 33rd prime. Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit deeper. But already, I mean, that's pretty crazy. All the names, everything equaling 33.
It's got to be a simulation.
So, I mean, people can say, oh, you can look for all these things, but this is the main components of the thing, right? It's not like you're scrambling for secondary words. So 33rd prime number is 137. Theismann plus 6 equals 1370. The Super Bowl equals 1370. Alexander Douglas Smith, that's his full name, 1137. Smith, 137. How can Smith be 33 and 137? I think there might be a mistake in there. Lawrence Taylor equals 137. NFL.
How do these equal?
It's gematria, right? When you count the letters and then equal the numbers. Do you remember we had...
Yeah. Now I see.
Yeah. Marty Leeds on explaining like all these
Marty Leeds who thinks the earth is flat.
huge names. Like, enlightenment is a real sacred number. And Jesus and sacred. Sacred is sacred.
What's Graham?
I can't remember. Fucking sacred.
This is
NFL equals 137. Washington Redskins.
How can all those equal 137? We need a gematria chart.
Yeah. National Football League. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. I gotta fact check your shit here.
Okay. Washington Redskins equals. Didn't they go over that already?
So it's definitely not the letter isn't which number it is in the alphabet, because there's no 3 letters in the alphabet that could equal 137 then.
Yeah, 1 third level, third letter 3, and it could be 137 because it goes 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0 9 8 7 6 5 4 3 2 1, and then it repeats on the bottom.
So we need a chart.
Washington Redskins equals 131. Smith equals 131. So how is he doing? So I'm not sure how they're doing this.
This is fucking crazy.
Because Smith was 33 before. Now it's 131. Theismann equals 131. Super Bowl equals 131. Championship equals 131. Alex Smith equals 666. Alex Smith equals 966. I don't know how they're doing that.
Where did you find this? What website are you on?
Yeah, is there a point to this?
Smith and Theismann equals 696. Lawrence Taylor equals 696.
Graham equals 127. Fucking iPhone equals 137.
Okay, wait.
Crystal equals 137.
Just wait. This could be a total put on. I don't think it is, though. The day before Smith's broken leg, Theismann was 69 years old, 69 days old, or 69 years, 9 weeks, and 6 days old. So that's back to the 696 again. Theismann's injury was 69 days or 9 weeks, 6 days before the 1986 Super Bowl. The Bears over Patriots in the Superdome in New Orleans.
How interesting is it that
The other
69
stadium-
days is 9 weeks and 6 days?
The other, yeah,
Wait, that can't be right.
69 days.
It's not.
Or 9
It's 9
weeks.
weeks.
Yeah, that would be.
Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
but how can 9 weeks and 6 days be fucking 69? Oh yeah, and 10 weeks is
Yeah,
70.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the other stadium named Mercedes-Benz.
Does that equal 131?
No. This looks like another clue for the Saints as we'll dig into deeper in the insider. Okay, so now Alex 66, Smith 66, JJ 66, Watt 66. The age difference between Smith and Theismann at the time of their injuries was 606. And Smith was born 66 weeks after Theismann won his only Super Bowl. Atlanta 606. Lawrence Taylor 166. NFL 66 with the first Super Bowl ending the 66 season. History repeats. 661.
You're just saying gibberish at this point. Let me see that.
Look. See? This is all pretty interesting, but the next 34, 43. Hang on. No, Darren's stealing my.
Oh my god, this is ridiculous.
Perhaps the 01 binary code. So this is where it gets really crazy.
This is where it gets really crazy.
I'll link to it in the show notes.
Read some more. Read the next part. Because now it looks like Washington Redskins equals 4,000 and something.
Yeah, I don't know. They've got the code here. So W16A66. Like, I don't know how the math is working on that, but apparently in the calculation,
It all works out at the bottom.
So Washington Redskins 43-43, November 18th, 343 leaves 43 days remaining. Theismann was born 34 years, 34 weeks, and 3 days before the birth of Smith and 34 days before the birth of Taylor. And his leg was broken at the age of 434 months. Smith was born on 34 and broke his leg at age 34. NFL equals 34.
NFL equals 137.
And 66. And...
Anyway, what does Grimerica equal? There's a couple people pitter-pattering in the chats. Tell us what Grimerica equals. Let's move on.
Okay.
What else you got? You know what? Let's fucking get into some of this. It's been a while.
You have stuff?
Bingo, bango, social media jingle. Don't forget
We don't do it in a while like that. I have tons.
subscribe to the Grimerica newsletter. Bingo, bango, social media jingle. Don't forget to rate, comment,
Okay, so turn down for a sec. I'm going back a ways. Before you get into the modern social media,
Okay.
I'm going to read 1998 social media from Darren's annual that I found was we're moving
What's
books,
an annual?
books into the studio.
We call them yearbooks.
We call them annuals.
Okay.
Yeah. And the first thing I pick up is like, so there's a bunch of people here telling Darren to be good to Amanda. So I don't know if
That was my girlfriend in
I know if
1998.
there's some risk of like you not being good, but this is the favorite one. Don't fucking think I don't know because I do. You know what I'm talking about. Oh, I know you know. See you when you get back from Turkey. Don't forget to get me something nice. Remember, I fucking know. That's love your man, Hickey or Mickey.
Oh, Chris.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. I don't remember that, no.
Did you go to Turkey? That was just big plans.
No, I've never been to Turkey.
Here, how about this? I think this is one of your teachers. Darren, your loud, boisterous ways have become common. Lucky me, haha. Keep the faith, Mrs. B. Ms. B.
Oh, yeah, that's my art teacher.
Yeah, a lot of people here saying, be good to Amanda.
That did not end well.
I kind of figured.
Okay, so should we go to the YouTube?
What was your mascot there? It's like a baby ram.
It's shit. What were we? Yeah, we were the Red Lake Rams. That's
Cool.
right.
Yeah.
The
You're
only
the Wallabies.
the only team I ever made was volleyball.
Really?
I was on the volleyball team. Actually, no, that's
You're
true.
a bit
I was
athletic,
skip of the curling team,
Oh, yeah.
and I played volleyball for grade 9.
Curling's
and we
not
had
really
this big
athletics. Curling's just...
I was a skip motherfucker. We had the big pep rally. And then we were all supposed to go up and spike the volleyball, and I just fucking totally duffed it into the net.
Really?
It was terrible.
That's nice.
That'd probably be one of my embarrassing moments if I ever have to answer this.
Mine was in the school gym, too. Did I tell you about that?
Funny how that works out, eh?
Did we talk about that embarrassing one?
No.
Playing European handball and at lunch, and there's a bunch of people in the bleachers watching and all that, and everybody's laughing, and I didn't know why. I thought it was like I made some great play or whatever, and then I sit down on the bleacher after, and I look down, there's a huge gaping rip in my rugby pants. Like, my whole crotch was ripped out, so everybody was just watching me run around with no crotch in my pants.
Grimerica.
You're not even fucking paying attention to me again.
Yeah, I've heard
Am I
that.
most
I've heard
embarrassing?
that
Oh, you
story already.
remember that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Several times, actually. Now that you mention it, I've heard it several times.
Once.
Maybe twice. Maybe once on the podcast and once off. Anyway, yeah, I couldn't play any sports.
There's a gematria calculator.
I'm fairly athletic, but I smoked cigarettes all through high school, and you weren't allowed to play sports if you smoked cigarettes.
What?
Yeah, you weren't allowed on the sports team, and they had people spying.
No way.
Spying on the smoking pit to see who was smoking. And then it was fucked up because the other teams would come to town and people would come right off of their team buses and go start smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
But our school policy was no. So I didn't play any sports throughout all high school.
You chose smoking over sports.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to be cool. My wife, Lisa, she was quite athletic too. She made all the sports teams. She didn't smoke cigarettes, so she was on all of them. Not I. They wouldn't have me. I went and did 2 days of dry land training, and then the coach called me in. He's like, "What are you doing? I know you smoke. You quitting?"
No, come on. Really?
Yeah, don't smoking. That's it. And it's because maybe if you get
But you guys mustn't have been competitive. I mean, these other guys, I bet you some of those smokers were pretty good athletes back then.
Yeah. We weren't very competitive when I was in school. Didn't seem like it. Because, there was definitely a bunch of good hockey players that couldn't play because they smoked. It's high school. Tons of people are experimenting with smoking at that time.
Yeah.
That's a shame. Because the thing is, you could get into the sports and then you quit smoking because of it.
True.
Because you find they're holding you back in some way, or
Mind you, this was back when NHL players were smoking between periods. I mean,
yeah, this is true, right?
Or at least maybe not in '98, but wasn't too long before that when Ally Frady, I think, or there's a couple other guys that would just hack along right between between periods.
Ally Afraidy was...
Am I fake news there on that one?
No, I remember that. And he had like the fastest fucking slap shot.
Oh,
too.
yeah, he was awesome.
Whereas I'm just looking for, there was a great post the other day. Here we go. There's a good one. What life-altering things should every human ideally get to experience at least once in their lives? We got lots. We got
Sex.
Mushrooms, death, and life in that order. From Debbie Janes, being with and caring for the dying. From Blake, coming very close to death, not necessarily NDE, but more like seeing your life flash before your eyes and surviving. The more it happens, the better. This is also a prevalent philosophy in Bushido, the way of the samurai, ultimately with the goal of ridding ourselves of any fear of death, and moreover, to welcome it and recognize it as the pinnacle moment in our lives. That is how the samurai believed they reached enlightenment. And also having something happen to you that changes. You have a deep and yearning desire to help, serve, and love one's fellow man, and psilocybin. James Peters, psilocybin. Psilocybin comes up a lot. Eric Sturgill, entheogens of some sort in a non-party setting. Tila Tida, unconditional love. So many ways to experience this. Sorry, but what is it all about otherwise? In my case, the hardest was feeling this for myself, yet wouldn't mean a damn thing without love from others. From Joseph, seeing Graham's calves in person. Cyrus replied, you have no idea what you're asking for. The loss of everything you thought to be true and permanent, then working to get it back better than ever. That was Cyrus. From Colin, traveling the world, and if you can, by letting the company you work for pay for it. Wes Clark, childbirth. Cooper, DMT. Ant, Melville. One of the most important things is when people have that so-called wake-up experience, but then to experience the point where they realize the alternative can be equally as convoluted. This is the point that free thinking turns into deep apperception. I'm not 100% sure that's a word, but I'm going to go with it. From Billy, a good old-fashioned ass whooping to help humble even the most ego-driven.
Nice.
Should I go to the...
Where was that all from?
That's all from Facebook.
Facebook,
Here, I'll roll into the YouTubes just for a second. Let's see what's percolating over
troll
there.
Room.
Into the troll room.
Troll haven.
We got... No. Oh, here we go. From Bradley Knight. Talk about synchros.
Oh, that's weird. I was just going to read his show today.
Really? I emailed you guys last night about my out-of-body experience, and it involved weed. I'm from southwestern Ontario between Sarnia and London. Great talk. I myself quit smoking at Christmas, but I think weed is a spirit helper and treat it with more respect now.
Can you forward me on those emails?
These aren't emails.
Yeah, he said he sent you a couple emails on.
Oh, you didn't get those? Oh, okay.
No. So if anybody has like sightings or experiences, just send them to Graham at Grimerica.com and you'll get a reply and probably get it read on the show.
Pew, pew.
And you can tell us where you found the show as well. That's always helpful.
I will, we'll make it so the emails go to you.
Okay.
Eventually.
Not your whole box.
No, you can't. You can handle that. On EP 270, Joseph P. Farrell. I couldn't help but picture this dude as the cool museum dude from Pawn Stars. Like the point of Japan is an extra variable to keep China on their toes. Some UFO sightings. Oh, this was a good one. It's the UN. This was on the Olaf Phillips when we started talking about the parks, national parks. Yep. It's the UN. They're the ones taking people. Look up national heritage sites. They're the ones who run the planet's national parks. And that gets into that whole UNESCO thing, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of fucked up. What else? I love this show. I hate your intro. ITM. Thanks, Kosh.
In the morning.
In the morning, you cocksucker. He won't hear that. Here, I'll do one more from Bang Chief. This is on Kyle Shovel Day Off episode. What if it's not a person having a past life, but instead vessels that are in tune enough, knowingly or not, that past persons are hoping to use to settle things with people or situations still in the present? All is now. The I've had past lives idea seems a little selfish, you know? Like the stereotypical Western me mindset. We can be the completion in trade for some self-progression. Just got to stop thinking about self all the time. Anyways, I love you. Salute. I'm still the creator. Brag about creations on Instagram. That's creations with a Z. And he pops in. At the same time, I know 100% that these are vessels. Amazingly incredible, underestimated biomechanical vessels. We're truly lucky. Salutations. I'll wrap it up there.
Alrighty. You want me to segue into some an email about supporting the show? I feel like my nose is bleeding.
No, you're okay. You're okay. For now. I'll let you know. Do we have a support jingle? I got to redo the jingle board here one day soon.
Remember when you used to buy DVDs
What
for
the
$20?
fuck is this?
Now that very same DVD is somewhere in a landfill next to a rotten piece of cheese. But you
What is that?
has way more longevity.
Tell us, Felix. Thanks, Felix.
Thanks,
That's a
Felix.
way to support the show. Just send us your blood.
Donate to Grimerica. It'll feel real good. Donate to Grimerica. All will be right with the world.
All right,
Donate to
let's have it.
This is an older email. I was saving it up. Hello, my favorite Canadians. I just signed up for a monthly so that I can get access to the sweet, sweet Black Budget show. I was triggered into donating by the incredible whiny douchebag who berated Darren for being a mainstream sellout a few weeks ago on the Charlie Robinson episode. The guy started off by complimenting you profusely for being the best podcast ever, then said he's going to stop listening because God forbid you try break even on the incredible amount of time and money you spend on the show. I mean, you don't do ads, the show is free, but Darren is a sellout, mainstream corporate establishment asshole. Give me a break. Then the guy tries to say he can't buy a 50-cent stamp and put $1 bill in it because it's so broke. That's $1.50. The guy can watch your show on YouTube on his MacBook Air, but he can't find $1.50 in his couch. Everyone listening, this guy is the problem. Who sends nasty-ass email like that to a couple guys he quote-unquote admires? Then berates them for trying to put out a process in place that will keep the show on the air. This is true. Couldn't do without you guys. Join me in subscribing to an anti-whiny pussy-ass donation of $3.33 a month to the Grimerica show. Then send an email to Darren and Graham berating this moron so that it can be read aloud. Graham is probably too nice to go along with us, but we can count on Darren. So make sure you CC him on the email. Lastly, I listen for the intros, guys. Who cares about the thought-provoking interviews with experts? We want Darren and Graham. Haha, just kidding. The interviews are great. But in all seriousness, the intros are the true Canadian radio gold. If you're ever in the People's Republic of California, stop by. Good vibes. So, yeah, we couldn't do it without the support. And these intros are just ways where we connect all the listeners together in a little community here. And we read their stories and synchros and all that stuff. And you can always skip ahead to the fucking interview if you want.
That's right. There's always a timestamp, and you can always just skip ahead because I put a little chapter mark if your pod player supports that. I don't know if the Apple one does, and I know that most of you listen there. You shouldn't listen there. You should listen on Overcast or fucking something else. And you get the artwork. Just saying.
But we really couldn't do this without you guys.
No, we need support. We got this new fucking space to pay for. We got... You know, I broke the TVs, I guess, when I was moving. I cracked both of our projecting TVs, the one that shows the guest face and the one that shows the slideshows or the links that we like to watch. Those are both broken. So now we need to get a couple new TVs, or we need some local Grimericans maybe. We prefer around a 32-inch with an HDMI input that can be hung on a wall. We could use a couple more because I just actually noticed those were broken about 20 minutes before showtime today, so that sucks.
But other than that, I mean, we started out this whole podcast not knowing that it could ever get to what it did. But we started talking to interesting guests, having great conversations, and it was somehow resonating with people. And we wanted to have good audio, and we wanted to do a decent production value, because we liked, those types of podcasts ourselves. And then, we ended up getting support from people that continue on, and we can have these great conversations without ads, without portals. So we don't have to really worry about what we say.
That's right. It's escalated into something great. That's one thing, we do need more supporters. I mean, we make just enough money here to pay for with the new space and stuff. We're probably, back to the fully stretched budget again. And, we weren't planning on getting to here, but we're super happy to be here. It opens up a bunch of possibilities. It gets us out of a garage and into a space we can be proud to invite people into and have people visit, and we can maybe get into doing some other stuff from here and
helping other people out.
Helping other people get shows going. We're looking at getting into helping maybe produce some people and get some other shows going. We're going to get a bunch of extra content loaded into the black budget right away.
Yeah. Which is getting really good.
Which is, there's going to start being 5-6 episodes a month in the black budget. Easy. We've got different content, people hopping on board. And, we couldn't do any of this without you, and we don't want to stop growing. I mean, we'll be honest, we could be doing more shows. The sky is the limit. I mean, right now we're breaking even. Graham and I still work full time, all that stuff. But, it'd be great to just keep growing and get to the point where we can, maybe do more of what we're doing now.
Yep.
And we can't do that without, a bunch more supporters. We can only do so many shows when we got to work full time.
We're trying to get to 1%. Some guys, they're getting 5% support. This is like the overall listenership and the amount of people that interact or support.
I was on the PayPal last night. There's 70 suspended payments and 170 canceled.
Overall?
Yeah. Which is about half of what we've got.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So that's the other thing. You got to check your PayPal subscriptions from time to time, because I get, a few emails a week from people canceling their subscriptions. And I usually send an email out, but I didn't start doing that until a few months ago. So anything that happened before, I just assumed it was people canceling. And then when I started sending the email out saying thanks for all the support, blah, 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 everyone, 9 out of 10 people were replying saying, what are you talking about? I didn't cancel anything.
Yeah, that's scary. I don't know, man.
So check your subscriptions. Like I said,
it just seems too weird to be a glitch.
It's just because I was on there last night, and the percentage of canceled maybe we're that shitty, but the percentage of canceled to active subscriptions just surprised me how high it was.
Yeah.
Some of those people did switch to Stripe. Some of them did switch to Patreon.
Yeah.
Wherever you want to support us, if you just support us, that's great.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean,
any support.
Chris Jesernick just sent us another $5 super chat.
Awesome.
Thanks, you, sir.
Man. And any support at all gets you access to the black budget. So just email us. Darren will send you links. Is that how it's still working? Which is just a bunch of extra content.
Yeah. And you get access to the forums and all that as well too now.
It's totally different content. It's not like just an intro and an interview. It's more like we're reading some essays and some interesting stuff that, people want to hear about, but they don't really want to read themselves. And we've got some other, John Brisson's got a great show in there called We Read the Documents or something like that.
Yeah, there's another one coming out. A news roundup show is going to be coming in there right away from a couple other guys. And
Darren's got to finish off his...
I still got half of the Unabomber Manifesto. And
I've got a half of that essay on conspiracies from...
and then Jason has sent me I've got fucking 10 essays.
They have so much content
It's
now.
insane.
I'm
going to come here one Saturday and we're going to, so that's why you got to get on the black budget now. I mean, honestly, now's the time. 2019's big year, we're hoping. Sign up, please. Support us. It's going to be a longer spiel, first show of the year.
Yep.
Please support the show. I mean, we still got Brody here pro bono. Need some support. Please. Now, the black budget feed. Great. You get that. What else you got? CAC.
Contact at the cabin. So one of our favorite guests,
I'm gonna have
he's been on the show
next month.
four or five times. I mean...
Yeah, I'm going to get him to come back on in February.
Blows us away. Randall Carlson, look him up. Listen to the show. He's going to join us for 10 days in Colorado at this big log cabin, or a big log mansion, really. Kind of have a little contact at the cabin, a meetup. We'll do some sky watching, some traveling. Just shoot the shit with a bunch of cool people. It's going to be great.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to... Here's the thing. This is going to get opened up here in the next 2 weeks or week even to all of Randall's community. And then after that, Randall's going to go on a couple other shows and talk about it. So, within the next 2-3 weeks, this thing's probably going to blow up. And if you're on the fence and haven't got it, it's going to get to be too late pretty quick. I mean, we're down to about 50 spots left, which isn't a lot when you think about it. I think Randall's got about 50,000 followers on his Sacred Geometry International site. And they're going to jump all over this, and they don't know about this yet. The only people who know about this are the Grimerica people. So it's Grimerica Contact at the Cabin. It's at Elk Lake Lodge in Pagosa Springs, Colorado. Of course, we got legal weed. Graham will be there. I'll be there. Randall Carlson will be there. Staying at the house with you. A couple bedrooms over. There's campsites. There's bunk rooms. There's private bedrooms. Tent. It starts at $500 for a tent. That gives you full. That's your lodging included. That's transportation to and from. That's all of your breakfast and all your lunches. So that all you got to do is get there and feed yourself supper, and we'll do the rest.
It's only a couple hours.
You could probably have some leftover lunch for supper if you're hurting.
It's only a couple hours from Four Corners too.
Oh yeah, all sorts. I mean, I want to take off down to the desert at some point, down in New Mexico.
Well, I don't know about that.
It's only 5 hours.
5 hours.
I might actually fly out the second time. I think I'm going to fly out of Albuquerque.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and I'll fucking leave in the morning and drive down.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Buy some meth and head home.
Why'd you say that?
Isn't that where Breaking Bad's from?
Oh, I don't know.
The meth making?
I don't know. So, did you say the email address on the website?
Yeah, the email address is...
So this is
CAC 2019 at hdtravel.me, or you can just go to hdtravel.me and check out the site, and there's some links there. But honestly, you guys better get on this, or you're going to be sorry you missed it. And I mean, if we don't sell it the first one, then we can't do the second one with Matheson or any of that stuff. So buy some fucking tickets, support the show. It's a new year. Get it done. Okay, on to funner stuff. What else you got?
UFO quotes, dude. We're not done yet. I found more.
Darren and Graham are going deep. It's a profound UFO quote.
Still call them profound?
They are profound. Just the volume of them is profound.
And critique. It's a profound UFO quote of the week.
This flying saucer situation is not at all imaginary or seeing too much in some natural phenomena. Something is really flying around. I was Air Force Base Intelligent Report Flying Discs, July 30th, 1947.
47?
Yeah.
What day?
July 30th?
What day was Roswell?
July 8th or something like that, or that weekend, like the long weekend, July 4th or 8th or something.
Interesting.
I'll do another one.
Someone's in the chat's asking who gets their name on the wall. Who gets their name on the wall? Supporters. The first, no, Adam's on it. Never mind. Yeah, this back here is going to be replaced with underneath.
No. Maybe we'll do another.
Underneath the banner will be the names of the supporters.
Okay. All right.
Unless you put it on a different wall and don't.
Maybe on that wall. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. But you're going to be immortalized in Grimerican history. I mean, geez. Who does that?
We'll build our wall.
The Grimerican wall will get built.
I'll do one more.
Okay.
Since this is in.
Don't point at me.
I'm not. I'm pointing up. This is in celebration to Project Blue Book, which is coming out on TV.
I seen that.
Apparently, it's not quite an accurate representation of Hynek's life, but we'll see what the UFO community says. It's still pretty cool that it's out there. This is the most puzzling case in the radar visual files. The apparently rational, intelligent behavior of the UFO suggests a mechanical device of unknown origin as the most probable explanation. Air Force Project Blue Book, Special Report Number 14, May 5th, 1955. Another one?
No, I think that's
a small one. And then that's pretty quick.
I'm quick.
When the team was about 10 miles from the landing site, static disrupted radio contact with them. 5 to 8 minutes later, the glow diminished and the UFO took off. Another witness was visually sighted. Another UFO was visually sighted and confirmed by radar. That's a classified report from Air Force Strike Team at Minot Air Force Base in 1966.
Nice one.
We drove through there before the podcast started.
Was that on our way to Paradigm?
Symposium, yeah.
Remember when I told you to get gas and you didn't get gas and the other gas station was closed? You had to turn around and drive back an hour?
Yeah, we almost fucking didn't make it.
Almost ended up on the side of the road in the middle of the night.
I can't believe we didn't run out of gas.
At least we didn't have cell service. Isn't it nice? I remember one time I almost ran out of fucking gas in like the bush in fucking Northern Ontario, taking a shortcut down a road I shouldn't have been on. I was just like, and I got like halfway down the road where I was too far to turn back, and I'm just like, this was a fucking terrible idea.
Yeah. Did you run out? No.
I ran out of gas. I made it through the fucking area with no cell service, and this is back when my cell phone had a little antenna that popped up and everything, and I had no cell service, and it's the middle of the fucking night. It's 1 a.m, 2 a.m.
Are you high?
On weed. So I'm like, fuck, I'm not going to make it. I'm like talking to my car. I'm like, come on, girl, you could do it. And I'm like, I pop out of fucking, and I'm like, it's like, shut off. I'm supposed to be out of gas. Like my thing says 85 kilometers left or something before it just goes to boom, low fuel. Yeah. And I've driven like 110 kilometers past this. And I'm just like, fuck. And then boom, I pop out and I'm in a little town outside Wawa, Ontario. And I see across the street, there's a service road, but I got to like turn left and go up the highway a bit and then turn right. And then I'm get onto the service road. So I got like onto the highway and off of the highway.
I think you told us this one.
Fucking ran out of gas. I ran out of gas like 300 feet from the pump.
Wow.
And I had to just push it like across the parking lot. Gas station's closed.
No way.
So I just like push it up to the pump.
Did you have to sleep there?
And I slept in my car and his buddy knocked on the window. Yeah. It's like, fill it up. And I drove the rest of the way. You know what? And then later that day, I filled up in Dryden, Ontario for 33 cents a liter. 32.9.
Wow.
Yeah.
When was that?
This would have been around 2000. Annual? This would have been about 3 years after the annual. Yeah. 2 or 3 years after the annual.
Loud and boisterous Darren driving around on his own.
Still loud and boisterous. He's a podcast, so I could be louder and more boisterous. That's it. What else you got?
That's it, dude.
Just wrap this shit up.
Yeah.
Jump into the chat with Jack. It's a great chat, great podcast. Check it out. Remember, support the show, grimerica.ca/support. And also just remember to just be a Grimerican and be nice to everyone. Smile at a stranger. Be nice. Don't be a prick.
Love is the answer.
Love is the answer. Comes with the territory. All right, guys. Thanks for everything. First real show from the fucking
Grimerica Studios.
Grimerica Studios. Is that what we're calling it? The first interview we did was 13 questions.
I don't know.
We'll come up with a name. Someone suggested Unaffiliated Media Studios. Maybe headquarters. Anyway, enjoy the chat with Jax. Great chat. And yeah, enjoy.
We've got Jack Rhysider with us here tonight. He's the host of the Darknet Diaries, which is a podcast covering true stories from the dark side of the internet. It's a crazy podcast. Stories about hackers, defenders, threats, malware, botnets, breaches, and privacy. He's from a security background, working in an operations center. And it's a fascinating podcast, and it's good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, it's a great show and well produced, and man, there is some interesting stories in there. We should probably dig into a few of them for sure. Like super fascinating. I mean, we both love the research and how deep you get with some of these stories. So, Darren, I don't know where you want to start.
You put in way more work than we do, for sure. I commend you for that. I was actually the first episode I listened to. Was the Apple Podcast one. And I just couldn't believe how it started getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And then you're calling up people in fucking Bangladesh. And it just, how did that all, like, was that your plan from the get-go? How did that sort of model come together?
Yeah. So in that episode, I was finding out some people were gaming the charts on Apple Podcasts. And I wanted to get to the bottom of it. Who's gaming it? How are they gaming it? What's the story behind there? Somebody's hacking something here, and I just wanted to figure it out. So I ended up, finding some of these people who were doing it and calling them on the phone and kind of interviewing them for the show. It didn't start out like that. It just kind of started out with understanding the tactic so that I could know, as a podcaster myself, what it takes to climb the charts, just so I know, what to aim for. And then as I just started learning more, I just thought, you know what, nobody's covering this. Why don't I turn this into a show and cover it? And sure enough, I just kept going deeper and deeper. And it's one of those things where I thought people were messing with me at some point just because of what I was looking for, I was actually finding. And like, that's just the things that I came across was insane. Yeah,
that's fine, because it's such an ambiguous thing. Nobody seems to know how the iTunes algorithms work and how people get up there, and you just dug right into it and you got to the bottom of it, and you learned a lot about other stuff along the way. You talked about the New York Times bestseller stuff, and yeah, that was a really good episode. I mean, do you always you've been deep on a lot of them, and so did you plan on doing that, like when you started the Darknet Diaries, like being able to dig so deep into a lot of these things?
So that was the first time I ever did any investigative journalism stuff, like trying to uncover news that nobody's uncovered before.
Right.
All the other episodes have just really been covering something that's been well documented in the news or somebody's personal story, and they're telling me that. So this was new to me, but when I listen to podcasts myself, I think investigative journalism ones are like some of my favorites.
Yeah.
Because you feel like you're long on the ride with the person who's doing the show. So I've always wanted to do that. I just didn't think I'd ever actually get into it, because at the same time, I'm kind of ruffling some feathers too. I'm bringing to light stuff that people don't want to be brought to light and stuff. So this to me was kind of an easy way to try that, to see if I could uncover this without like really causing any people a lot of stress, because it turned out to be a bunch of people in Bangladesh who were doing this, and it just seems like they're just doing it for a quick buck. I don't think there's like a big mastermind operative behind the whole thing anymore. I just think it's just kind of going on there. So
yeah, it was kind of like, it seemed like somebody smartly figured out by playing around with it, like how to maximize the response to the algorithm, in a daily or a weekly kind of thing. And you found, so it just seemed like he spread it to other people. Kind of, some people started working on it and charging for it on Fiverr. Like, it didn't seem like it was too big of a conspiracy, but it got, a lot of people started using it.
Yeah, they sure did. And so I think to break it down, what I learned was it just takes number of new subscribers a day to climb the ranks in Apple Podcasts, iTunes.
Yeah.
And after publishing this, I had a bunch of other people tell me how they either a bunch of people telling me they actually work on gaming other charts. So people have been paid to game the Amazon charts for best-selling items, or the Steam charts for best-selling games, and the other Android apps charts. Some travel sites, for like
Travelocity or something.
Yeah, those kind of things. Yelp, it's all gameable. And so this is kind of what I tried to do, is put this, bug in some people's ears, like, hey, stop trusting all these charts that we kind of rely on to make our purchases. A lot of them are hackable.
And that's sort of the premise of the podcast is hacking, I suppose, right? If you had to pick sort of your central premise, it's sort of hacking different sort of systems, whether they be the iTunes store or the IRS or the gaming network or PBX or...
Yeah, absolutely. So that's my background. I was a security engineer trying to keep my clients safe from hackers basically for 10 years. And, some of the times in those situations was just such high drama where I was like, holy cow, like the president is going to address this on tonight's news, like that kind of level of high drama. So I'm like, this is so intense. And all these years I've just been like, I can't believe I work in this kind of thing where it's become so political and it becomes like a weapon of, cyber weapons and all these things. So I just think it's perfect for great storytelling on a radio show. And yeah, each one of them is some sort of, either I interview the hacker or the person who's been hacked, or I cover some high level hack that's been in the news.
Which is your favorite so far?
Well, before we get into that, I want to get into a little bit more about, before we get into each episode, or not each one, but a couple of my favorites. What is your feeling? Because listening to this and realizing how gameable a lot of this stuff is, especially charts and stuff that people follow, it's in a way it's enlightening, but in a way it's kind of disappointing too. It's like we're living in this world where there's so much on the computer and there's so much that we see, and so much of the information is manipulated. Like, do you ever get a sense of not dread or doom, but do you know what I mean? Like, how does when you're investigating this and you're coming up with all this, how does it make you feel?
Yeah, I think for my sake, I can protect myself for what I need. I think there's some things I have no control over, like when we had the Equifax breach. Like, I didn't really give you guys my information, and here you go, you lost it on me. I don't even know what to do about this. Like, so there's some stuff you just can't even avoid, even if you take all the precautions.
Yeah.
But a lot of my listeners do hit this level of dread and fear, and just like they shut off their cameras on their their laptops and kind of go in that corner of the room where it has no Wi-Fi and just kind of decompress there for a while, because it is scary to see how vulnerable we are on these systems. And I think I'm hearing a lot of people like really getting concerned about this. So I'm thinking about kind of helping out in that way and making some sort of like, I don't know, cheat sheet or something on how to protect yourself. Because I think what you should do is not really worry about being faster than the bear, but being faster than your friend who's also running from the bear. These hackers will take the easy targets, and if you're a little bit harder to get into than the neighbor, then they're going to skip you and go to the neighbor. A lot of times it's low quality hackers just trying to do as big of a hack they can and not really focusing on you particularly. But
yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. For me, it was more about like, if somebody like a higher level hacker wants to get you, they can just get you. Like, there's no fucking protection. Like, that's what makes me feel like. Like, it's not about getting gamed by a low level, like, hack job. It's like if somebody wants to do something to you, they
Is most low level hacking like bots and shit these days? Is it like algorithmic, or how does like that work?
Yeah, there's places you might go. Just off the top of my head, like an app you might download in the the phone's app store, or a website you might visit frequently might get infected with something. And now, you've got 100,000 people who went there or downloaded that thing. And now you've possibly infected that many people. So that's kind of like a watering hole attack. Things you go to, things you need, things you want to access get infected, and then you can get infected. I think the two big just safety precautions there is to never reuse passwords. Use a different password on every website you go to and everything you use. And always keep your software up to date, because I think the latest stuff is going to cover the latest patches. And
wow,
you're going to want to use high technology, high tech stuff to hack you if you're not like head of state or somebody important to hack into. They'll just go on to the next person.
So don't leave.
I'm glad
don't leave
I
all your
just changed the passwords.
Don't leave all your passwords in a Word document named passwords, like the principal in one of your stories.
Yeah, that did happen, and that was definitely a lesson learned for the principal on that one.
I had a couple people bitch at me for having all the same passwords, like, so now they're all different. Especially like across all the Grimerica like infrastructure, they were all just the same one. Just like, oh my god, you idiot!
Tell me any of these new ones.
You don't need to know them.
Oh my God.
Well, I don't know. I can't just tell you them. It's so it's going to be like we're going to get a letter in the mail that has the encryption key, and that's when we'll get the final passwords.
I like it.
See, Jack likes it.
The harder, the better.
Yeah, and I hadn't even thought about stuff like that, but it seems to make more and more sense as they've tricked us into carrying these surveillance fucking devices around all over the place. Do you carry a smartphone and stuff like that, or do you like?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Are you like, because I could go either way. Are you like all in on the tech, like, or as a security engineer, I could see how it could go either way, right? You might be scared of everything and off the grid like Adam Curry does it with a flip phone, or you could just be like all in tech guy, whatever comes out, let's check it out.
Yeah, I mean, I try to I try to not download stuff I don't know or recognize, so I'll keep it to a minimum level of apps and use two-factor authentication wherever I can. Yeah, I've got all that.
Interesting. Do you think so here's one I get all the time is what do you think is more secure, Apple or Android?
For the phones?
Yeah.
I think the phones that are made by the so Apple makes the iPhone and Google makes the Android, right? So if you can buy phones made by these guys, I think you're probably safer than say a Samsung, which is not making Android. They have to license Android. And so now they have to rely on Google to give them an update, and then they can push it down to you. So updates to like a Samsung phone are going to be much slower than updates to a Pixel, a Google Pixel. So getting it directly from the vendor, I think, is going to be the top choice. But historically, the iPhone has been a little bit more secure.
Yeah.
And there you have it. So, okay, let's get into it now. What's obviously you're a huge fan of hacking the shows. We've already had a couple people say in the chat because I mentioned a couple weeks ago or a week ago in our little chat room, our perpetual Discord chat, that we were going to have you on, and I've had 3 or 4 people tell me already that they've gone to check out the show and just immediately hooked. So it's it's obviously it's not just Graham and I that are into that storytelling style. So we're just what's your favorite episode? Like the first one was the PDX or whatever one. Is that sort of what got you started, or did you have the idea for the podcast ahead of time?
I've been going to these conferences and I hear people share these kind of stories at the bar, at the hacker conferences. And I'm like, how come nobody's like sharing these publicly? Why do I have to be drunk at a bar to hear this? It's so amazing. And so I thought, let's see if I can tap on enough shoulders and get someone to start talking. And it took a while before people did start talking. But I think my favorite one was one where I interviewed a nation state actor. And I believe, I didn't get explicit, but I believe he's from the NSA. And he didn't want me to use his real name or voice or anything, so I had to use a voice actor on that one. But when I was talking to them, oh my gosh, like the excitement of making a show where I'm hearing like a screwed up incident that the NSA did on a hack that they were doing one day. Like I just got so excited, like off the wall, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this person's sharing this with me. Even though I can't use her name and everything, it's just such a juicy, great story. And I loved it. And that feeling of just having someone open up to you and tell you something so personal, I don't know if I'll ever be able to outdo that, because that was just unbelievable.
Can you give us sort of a rundown? Yeah, of the.
Yeah, so that was episode 10, and basically the NSA was trying to get some information out of a foreign government agency. I think it was like I don't know, a ministry of something in another government, and they got in, they scouted out the whole thing, they figured out what attack they were going to plan, and then they put together a virus to get in there, and they put the virus on it, but the machine got updated. And so the virus shouldn't have worked, but it still got installed, and it caused the machine to crash a lot. And this person, they were able to watch it because they were in that machine in this foreign embassy, right? So they're able to watch this person's machine like as if they're on it. And this person was just troubleshooting and Googling all the, the problems and trying to figure out what's wrong with their machine. Why does it keep crashing and all this stuff? and they brought it to like help desk and tech support, and they're watching like every email, and they're watching what tech support's doing, and they're just like, I hope they don't discover this undiscovered virus, because if they find out that we have hacked their system, this is a real big problem. Like, this is going to go right up to the president. Like, we're going to have a situation rooms, thing on our hands. And so they eventually, the embassy just reinstalled the whole operating system, which will, save the day, I suppose. But there was one of those really intense situations for like a week where they were just like, what is going to happen here? We just watch and pray, because you don't want to mess up anything more at this point. You don't want to try to undo it because you might crash it more and all these things. So it was just really crazy. And that story just blew my mind. Like, you get off the phone call with them and you're just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just got this story. And it was like my first big scoop kind of thing.
Nice. That's awesome. One of my favorites was the bayonet.
It would be one of your favorites.
And Silk Road, the guy in the Silk Road in the new one, Alpha, what was it called again?
Alpha Bay, yeah.
Alpha Bay. And the takedown of that. I mean, and you went through all the details and all the little things, and how the German cops and the Dutch, I think it was the Dutch and the Germans, got together and cooperated on it, with maybe the FBI involved as well, to take down the guy. And oh man, it was awesome.
Not just Alpha Bay, but they also took down Hansa. So 2 different dark markets that are only on tour. These are selling drug marketplaces, and the FBI, it's war on drugs. I mean, the UN has a war on drugs. So the whole world's government agencies are like trying to crack down on this. And so they collaborated, like 6 different governments collaborated to take down these places, and were able to together take down 2 different dark markets at once. And yeah, the story is just so illuminating. And you think, oh, okay, I heard about Silk Road, that's cool, but this was kind of like, what happened after Silk Road, you didn't even hear that much. And I think this one is just as exciting of a story.
That's what I was wondering. And I mean, you heard, the takedown was even since Trump's been in office. And of course you wouldn't hear about it with him in office. It's just some good news that wouldn't be shared amongst the mainstream networks for sure. But what made me think about what's going on here with that story, and I might be wrong on this, but the way you described the guy that they took down from Alpha Bay, I mean, he didn't seem like your average criminal. Like, he didn't even seem like he was the type that, maybe, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say he's not a criminal, but and that other hacker guy in the high school, like, some of these guys don't seem like they got caught, they got busted for these crimes, but I feel like it's, these guys getting involved that aren't really inherently bad guys, they're just getting involved in all this stuff, and they kind of get sucked in. Is that something you're seeing as a trend in a way?
I think one of the kind of the hidden points of the show I try to tap into all the time is to bust stereotypes of who a hacker is.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, there's this kid in high school that got caught hacking. Well, he did his entire hack from a tablet in his 3rd period class in school, right? Yeah. It's not with a hoodie. It's not in a basement. It's not at a supercomputer. It's on the school's Wi-Fi in a tablet during class. And so, like, if you think about a hacker, that's how I want you to think now, is like the kids in the class, or the person behind you in the the airport, or at a coffee shop. Like, these are all locations of where a hack could take place anywhere and by anyone, like people who don't look like it. And all these people just don't look like it. You would never expect it. And I don't know, that one was really weird, because his wife seemed like such a nice person. And I'm reading into the story, I don't know, I never saw any interviews with her or anything, but I don't even know if she believed or, knew what she believed. Yeah. That this guy was actually one of the kingpins of the big dark market out there.
Exactly.
Like, she just looked like a nice woman.
But I feel like he stumbled across a real good opportunity, and he's like, oh, I can't let this slide. And then all of a sudden, Alpha Bay is like 10 times bigger than the Silk Road, and he's got all this money, and he's living across the world. And, it's just, they're great stories. And I mean, that kid, the kid gets sucked into, he's hacked his way in, and then you really did a good job at showing, like, or actually he was being interviewed. He was talking about it, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have these guys on themselves. I mean, he's expressing like his reluctance to go further, but you know, he's just getting sucked in. He's can't help it, right? You're in the fucking principal's computer, you know, and you're in his Twitter account. And do you stop? You know?
Yeah, he's like, fuck the school, fuck the principal.
I mean,
like on the Twitter account, it's ridiculous.
I mean, I just wish he would have got a little more creative instead of just saying fuck this, fuck that. He could have kind of, I don't know.
Well, just think of the power that wields in today's world. Like when we were down at the Peterson event the other night, maybe remember Ruben made the comment because he had the computer. He had Peterson's computer. And he had to pull the questions up from it. He's like, oh, he's logged into Twitter. And it's just like, you know, like taking control of someone who's a public figure's Twitter account for a couple minutes can put fucking things into a tailspin fast, man. Like just go throw some hate speech on there, and holy fuck, just watch it all come crumbling down.
Yeah, we're really in a fragile world sometimes.
Are there any examples of social media hacking like that backfiring? Because you don't see a lot of it. The only time I see is like my account got hacked. It's usually from somebody not famous.
I don't remember the exact details, but there was one politician that had like a blog post from years and years ago, and it was a little racist. And some people were pulling this up saying, oh, how terrible is this, you know, to have such like racist blog posts and stuff. And she was like, oh, I did not write that. I got hacked. Somebody hacked my blog and they put that on there. And that was the story. And that's what everyone bought. Like, okay, you didn't do it. Fair enough. And then like a few months later, somebody actually pulled up like proof that she did write it that many years ago because she like commented on it somewhere else. And she did not get hacked. She did write it, but she was just using the hack as like an excuse to like, whoops, I am screwed up, but I'll try to erase it by just saying I didn't do it. But hack.
Well, what's your feeling about that? People going back now that we do have a profile that's decades long sometimes now on the internet, and people are going back and finding all this shit on people. I mean, where does this lead us as a society? Like, I feel like nothing will be secret or sacred eventually. Everything will just be all open books.
Yeah, it's weird, you know, growing up without like somebody videotaping you beating up that kid. You know, you just say, yeah, I didn't actually beat him up or something. Now it's like everyone films you beating up a kid. Like, shit, I didn't realize. Oh man, that's the nightly news now, and it's so easy. Yeah, it's weird having our lives documented in a whole new way, and I'm still getting used to it. I think something I'm going to start doing is just deleting like all my old social media posts, like anything over 30 days old, just delete it. Because why do I need like Twitter tweets from like 6 years ago out there? I don't. So. I don't want.
Is there any
especially as hate speech gets redefined?
Yeah, that's it. Oh yeah, you said midget. Fucking that's it. String them up upside. I think midgets were.
Are you calling me a name again?
No, but it's a big one here right now because they're renaming all the midget hockey leagues.
We have a hockey league, a league division. It's a division called midget. So it's offensive.
From coast to coast.
So sorry to interrupt you there. Do you think there's a real threat, like after looking into all this and being in security, and do you realize, like, is this really, I mean, this is sort of the new war zone. I mean, the threats must be fairly real from foreign actors everywhere. I mean, how bad is it?
It's just as bad as you can imagine. I think the U.S. government has never claimed to do like an attack, cyber attack. They never admitted to any of them. And there's proof that they have. So this is kind of weird that we don't even talk, like the government doesn't even talk about what its capabilities are. You can talk about, oh yeah, we have these bunker busters and these nuclear weapons, but we're not going to tell you what cyber weapons we have. Yeah. And you know, one of the tricky situations was
because then you can't hack elections and blame it on Russia.
Yeah. There was like a chemical weapons treaty that took like 20 years to get written. It took forever. Like nobody could agree on what a chemical weapon is or when you should use chemical weapons and all these things. It was a really sticky situation. But eventually, you know, leaders started talking about what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And I think it's going to take, I mean, we're in this first generation of kind of computers still. And it takes like the first generation abuses the crap out of it. Like when
how fucked up is it? Sorry to interrupt, but how fucked up is it that the first generation gets deep fake and stuff like that? Like, where does that end up. And
that's scary. That's really scary. I don't think we're ready for that at all. Like it's gonna get worse and worse and worse. Like we're not able to call out like unequivocally this is a fact or not. And now we've got this introducing it to just make more problems for us.
I just thought about that because I never thought about that. We are still in the first generation of computers and stuff, and now we can make fake videos with people. We can make Nicolas Cage in every movie.
I was thinking like when you introduce like alcohol to a society, the first generation abuses the crap out of it and it gets banned, and it's like, no, you guys don't get this anymore. And then we have to like learn and pass it on from down generation to say, okay, look, this is how to properly use alcohol. We're going to bring it back. We're going to remember, not to get so crazy with it. And I think that, some stuff it's going to get crazy with the internet where I'm guessing that more stuff's going to get shut down, because they're going to say, oh, because child porn is on the internet, we're not going to allow you to get outside the US on the internet or something like that. And there was going to be more and more regulations on there before we all kind of just say, hey, we can't allow you guys to have these walls over between nations on the internet. The internet needs to be worldwide, and it's gonna grow and shrink a few times before we finally learn how to use it responsibly. I think it's going to take a while.
Yeah, but I feel like if it goes to a certain point, it won't be able to snap back or bounce back to some reasonable point because there's so much disinformation and so much. And like Darren was mentioning, these things can be fake now. And when do we get to the point where just you can't believe anything anymore? I mean,
I think we're there.
And we're basically, I get the feeling that we talk about this, simulation, digital universe kind of thing. But in some ways, our perceptions are created by these things that I don't think can go backwards anymore. Like I think once we go to a point where
reading too much Unabomber manifesto.
Don't you think, though? Don't you think it's going to get to a point where it can't come back? Like we'll just be in a dystopian world of you believe or you have to believe everything that you see online or you can't believe anything that you see online. Like,
you know what? In some days that might be better because think about this way, like, and I could be wrong, but if I think maybe a couple hundred years ago and news still traveled by telegram and, it might have been rougher living, but for some reason, I still think it might have been maybe like a slightly happier time because you're less stressed out. You've got more meaning and purpose maybe than you're pulling out today. And so then you get into this slowly thing where this, and I think, I don't know, Jack might disagree, but it's come pretty apparent that all of our news agencies and shit are just propaganda networks. I mean, there's no reason to think that hasn't been the same for a long, long time. So maybe it getting to the point that nothing is real anymore is almost closer to a utopian because maybe it gets to the point where people are like, I mean, a bunch of people are canceling their cable at an unprecedented rate, and maybe that has something to do with it. And if it does, then maybe it is some sort of weird, good byproduct of the oversaturation of fakeness. If that makes sense.
There's a lot of opinions out there. Like, when you have like people in leaders of the country taking bribes to get certain bills passed as well, it just adds to the lies and all the stuff out there. And so I don't know, like having a lot of research out there that is politically motivated or being paid to do the research to find specific stuff. Here's some money. Can you please find this particular thing? And yeah, you'll be able to find that particular thing with, enough research, but it may not be true, but you could find, evidence of it slightly, maybe 1% of it is out there that's that way. And so that becomes like the entire research project. And I think that's needs to be addressed somehow. Politicians don't need to be taking so many bribes, and some of this research needs to be fact checked by independent bodies or something. I'm not exactly sure, but there's definitely a war on facts right now.
Yeah,
war on consciousness too. It's funny how many times the problem comes down to fucking money, because both those things you just said, those are both money, and the solution is usually love. Yeah, interesting. Because that's just it, right? There's too much money in science. There's science is bought and paid for by whoever has the most money, and the same with the politics. And it's just out in the open now. It's called lobbying. We just came up with a name for bribing politicians. I wonder what the actual definition of a lobbyist is. Have you ever hacked anything?
Yeah, my first hack was SimCity, the first video game, or the first version of it. And I hacked into the save game file to give myself like $1 billion sim dollars or whatever. And then I could play however I wanted.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. That was the game that I left video games from. The last one I played, I think.
Was it Sims?
Yeah, SimCity. No, SimCity.
So did you just come up with that? Can you give us because I've got no fucking skill at hacking. I'm pretty handy with the computer. I can figure things out, and sometimes it looks like it was hacked and slashed together, but that's about as close as I get to hacking. So like, how does that even thought process even come about? Did you find out about it someplace, or did you just come up with it on your own?
I came up with it on my own, but I think hacking in my mind is just kind of a loose interpretation of when something doesn't work, you figure out a way to make it do what it's not supposed to do. And so you've probably like turned, I don't know, something into something else.
I turned a corn on the cob holder into a dabber the other day.
Yeah, you could even turn it into a knife. So you hacked it. Shiv or something. But that's the whole point of it, right? It's like you think, okay, this is what I have to work with. These are the tools I have to work with. How can I get the thing I need to make? Or, what can I do to these tools to get something I actually need or something? And so, back then I was in high school or something, and I was just opening up the save game file and trying to read what was in there and just changing some of the data, change a 1 to a 0 and a 9 to a 3, and then open it up in the game and see what was different. And sure enough, I was changing like the name of the town and other stuff, and it was really throwing darts in the dark. And eventually, I hit the right number that was the value of the money. And hey, look at that.
What's number 2?
What, the second hack?
Yeah.
Oh man,
because that's funny because when you tell that story, it kind of reminds me of like, you always hear the Jobs and Wozniak story where the first thing was that stupid tone thing that they'd play on the payphone and they could get. I remember when I was a kid, what's funny is when I was a kid, this would have been the 80s. And this is probably like when Jobs had just made this thing. And there was this urban legend in fucking Red Lake, Ontario that you could get free long distance somehow. And I remember like we would sit but we thought it was a tapping thing. So you'd sit at the payphone and we thought if you like tap the button a number of times, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And try and do that to them, and it didn't work. But I wonder if that was like a ripple from the actual
you're
story.
on the right path. Definitely. That's how a lot of these hacks work. Is you just kind of brute force all these different things that maybe the person who made that phone never thought somebody would do, and that ends up creating some sort of bug or something in the code and ends up making a call. That's very possible, After that, what my dad kind of taught me was social engineering. And this is where you kind of hack the human mind. And so I don't know why, but he was always like trying to sneak me into Disneyland, sneak me into the baseball game, sneak me into some movie theater or something. And it's like he taught me this. And so before I knew it, I was sneaking into everything that I could sneak into, specifically like Disneyland and water parks and theme parks and football games, anything that costs, I was sneaking into them all. I don't know if that's considered a hack, but that's,
sure. My sister does that really
I snuck into the Stampede
once. My sister always
busted.
just gets into things. Oh, yeah?
We got promptly arrested.
Really?
They just took us outside of the grounds. And it was so elaborate, too. We like climbed over the Roundup building. They're doing construction on one time of it, so there's some scaffold there. We climbed up onto the roof, jumped over. We jumped down onto the lower roof. And there was some cops on the one side, so went to the other side, jumped into a tree, and climbed down the tree.
And you got caught.
When we got to the bottom of the tree, the cops were just there waiting for us. It's too bad.
So what about Mr. Robot? And have you watched that? And for somebody that's not very computer literate like me, it sure seems fairly interesting and accurate. Like if I was watching it as a hacker.
Heck yeah, man. That's one of my favorite shows. That the people who make that there's consultants and even producers are very much, I mean, even Sam Esmail was very much into security before making the show. And Sam, the director, was very adamant about every hack we do, it needs to be as realistic as possible. And so he hires consultants to say, here's what the plot is of the story. How do we make a hack connect these two plot points? How do we get him to get the keys to this or to get this thing? And so the consultants will come up with historical hacks that have probably been in the news that may have get them in there. So like they hack into the data center by using a Raspberry Pi on a, I don't know, the thermometer, the thermostat. Yeah. And this was something similar to what happened at Target. I think Target hack was similar. There was a hack through the thermostat system. So they're always using this kind of realistic hacks to make the plot go on, and I love that about the show. It's really realistic in the way that the hacking takes place there.
Cool, that's good to know. I thought it was. I felt like it was watching it, but I don't know if it was really just sci-fi or not. But yeah,
I forgot about Mr. Robot actually.
Yeah, another one that's pretty accurate, I feel like, is Silicon Valley. There's like a security guy in there, and he seems to be talking. Like when he starts talking the language, I'm like, wow, that's legit right there. He's
really
talking about different DDoS attacks and stuff. I'm like, yeah, you would need to consider all that stuff.
I'm so out of touch. I actually just came out of my no TV slump and started because I heard Planet Earth or Blue Planet 2 was on Netflix. So I've been watching that. I've been waiting for Blue Planet 2 for like 10 years. So how about podcasting? Why podcasting? How long did you want to be? Yeah, well, we're podcasters, so we always get excited to talk about podcasting. So yeah, when did you decide did you want to do a podcast? Did you listen to one that made you decide?
I've been listening to like This American Life for 10 years or so. And there's been so many times where I'm just in the car, at that driveway moment, like waiting for the story to finish so I get out and go do my shopping or whatever. And I just, I really realized like how gripping some of those stories were. And I'm like, wait, there's so much drama in security. Why can't I just do This American Life for InfoSec, for hacking stories? And I reached out to a bunch of podcasters telling them about this idea, but none of them really wanted to take me up on it. So I just didn't think it would ever come around, but I got sick of waiting for it. And I said, I want to scratch my own itch. I'm making it for myself. And holy hell, it's been like the hardest thing I've ever worked on. I love working on the different projects, making websites and blogs and stuff. But every 2 weeks, I've got to come up with basically a documentary on a hack or a person or something. And wow, it's just like I'm moving at the speed of light here.
Oh yeah, that's got to be a bit overwhelming. Are you doing it all around a full-time job too?
I quit my job a few months back, and this is finally paying the bills. So
good for you.
Yeah, congratulations. That's what we're hoping to get one day.
Month it's got there.
Congratulations. Yeah, that's a big achievement. Congratulations. That's got to make it a whole lot easier. I mean, for us, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot easier because we don't, we count on guys like you to fill the content. We just sort of poke you along and talk shit.
No, you guys got the chemistry and you got the hard hitting questions and all that. So you're good at what you do.
What do you think about podcasting as an effect on the culture, current and future? Where do you think it's headed?
It's interesting to look at who's listening to podcasts. I think it's kind of a younger crowd. I can't get my dad to listen to any of them. And a lot of older people just have a tough time putting headphones on and sitting down and listening to it. They don't know what to do with their time when they listen to it and stuff. So it's definitely impacting like a younger generation or a middle generation, not even like the kids. They're not into it yet either. So teenagers aren't really into podcasts, listening to it so much. They're listening to music, I think. So there's this middle ground, kind of the millennials is really soaking it up and they're getting a lot out of it. I think, number one, they're listening to a lot of documentaries and stories about historical, just history and learning and educating off that. And hopefully these people are telling them truth, and not leading them down crazy lies. But then I think we after school, we kind of lose track and to like our friends and stuff. And we don't get that chatter, that just banter of kind of what we're doing here, of just listening to people talk and to be kind of part of a conversation. And it's soothing to just tune in and listen to people talk. And I don't know, that there's some self-help involved with just letting the chatter go on. And
that's a great point. Because I remember chatting like in high school with friends. Like we used to chat all the time. Like we'd chat all the time, and then you leave school.
That's all we did is go for coffee
and you
every
work,
night.
and then when at work you don't really have the same kind of thing going on. So, and then now, this is back to that.
I remember just countless hours just sitting on the fucking curb in front of the post office talking shit.
Yeah,
that's what we do now on the podcast with people that are way smarter than us. Yeah, that's an interesting. I think I would agree with that. I would say our main demo is probably like the 25 to 35 range would be probably our sort of sweet spot. We got a couple guys though that are like Nicky the Dude's been around since like day one, episode 1, and he's over 50 for sure.
Yeah, it's not always exactly.
My mom listens. Yeah, she said.
Yeah, my mom tried again.
All right, yeah.
She still gets upset at your swearing, but she's tried it.
Sorry, Mary.
So is it, I wonder if you're like us where we have so many content ideas and so many guests now. And at first we thought, will we have enough? Will we, be running out, that kind of thing? Do you end up with a backlog of stories and episodes that you want to do?
This first year has been really rough. I've run out of show ideas multiple times and had to whip something up in like 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's like a show fell through or something happened. I just couldn't get that one out. So I was having trouble with stories, but in the last couple of months I've got in the groove, and I've got a log of stories. So if I was to interview someone today, it would probably be like 2 months from now that it would actually go out.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. Good.
I'm working on like 3 at a time now.
Yeah,
and that's more comfortable. At first it was really hard to get in that groove.
Yeah.
But stories themselves are there's a million good hacker stories out there. They're just all over the place. But I want to get to the center of it. I want to talk to the person who was there specifically and get their exact take on it, because I think that's where the best part of the story is the person who was doing it or getting hacked or something. That's the meat of it. If I can get that, then that's great. And that's where I have a tough time actually finding people who are there.
Yeah, that's the tough part. Yeah, that's the investigative journalism part where you got to find like that actual guy.
Yeah, I could see that style is how. Yeah, that's so you've got kind of. Yeah, it's like harder.
And I was just tweeting about this yesterday that it's easier for me to find a hacker who wants to talk about the hack they did than to find a person who's been hacked.
That's
talk
hilarious.
About how they got hacked. And I think it's the corporate culture saying, oh, please don't talk to the press about, this Equifax breach or Target breach or whatever. Because Equifax is not talking to the press about this. There's no way I could ever get them to tell me, what was it like when you first got hacked? What was your manager saying? What was that? Because those are the things that would be so great stories.
A lot of NDAs, right? Probably.
Yeah, an NDA. Like none of those people will ever be able to talk about it. But the hacker, I'll tell you some thing or two.
I'll tell you what. We'll do a little thing. Try and hack Graham. Try and steal his identity a little bit.
No. I was just going to ask about identity theft. If that was.
And then just let me know. We'll have like a code. You can email me as Graham with a little code in there so I know it's you. And then we'll start really having some fun. It'll be fun. I could see how that style of show could be, you can kind of, because we find there's like a sweet spot where we can't be too many shows ahead either. We start to feel like people have been waiting 2 months for their episodes to come out. And I guess you have both those problems too, because you're interviewing people like, I don't know, are the people you interviewing, are they eager to hear the stories come out? I wonder if it's different when you're doing a journalism sort of thing.
Yeah, the younger the person, the more eager they are to hear it. Like that one high schooler, he's just like, when is it coming? I'm like, dude, I don't know. So I'm talking to this one 18-year-old now, and oh my gosh, it's such a big story that I think it's going to have to be its own podcast. Like it's a 6-parter at least. Like how big, how many parts do I do before I realize it's its own show? And I've been working on this one for like 4 months now, and it's interview him over and over and over because I just have to get so much out of him.
Wow. And can you give us a sneak peek on the gist of that one?
Oh man, I don't even want to even get involved in that. But this guy's life ever since 8 years old has just been insane. Like every year of his life has just been another massive traumatic experience. And it's not even into hacking too much. It's just his life is just crazy. So I'm like, wow, I have to document this somehow. So he's asking me all the time, like, when is it coming out? I'm like, dude, it's the hardest thing I've ever worked on in my life. You got to give me like another 3 months.
Wow.
Like the first draft out.
That'll be rewarding when it does come out.
Have you ever done an identity theft one, or is that something that you would get into?
There's the IRS episode that I talk about how people use the IRS website to download someone else's tax returns and then file the next year's tax returns on their behalf to get the whatever tax return is coming back to them. But this fraudster, that's the closest I've done to about identity theft. But yeah, there's so many different areas I can cover, and I think that's definitely one I should get into.
I don't know. That's a scary one. You probably should just leave that and not even open up that can.
What about life hacks? Are you like, does the hacker sort of mindset transition into everything, or do you have like any little life hacks you could share with us?
Yeah, there's one guy I'm talking to who I think I can get him to give me an episode, but he's really good at hacking airlines to the point where he gets free travel all over the place. And he'll do, I don't know all the details, but he'll do something like book this massive round trip ticket, get enough free miles to get a free ticket somewhere, cancel his round trip ticket, get the money back, and now he's got the free miles to go somewhere for free.
Wow.
So he'll do a ton of hacks like that and just travel all over the world for free.
Is his name Chris by any chance?
I don't know his real name.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I think it does. I think it does. Go into everything, and that's where I think my social engineering is where I kind of probably got started with all this, because I was realizing like there's no line over there. There's nobody to stop me if I go through that door backwards. And so what other things can I use the wrong way that can have a beneficial effect of some kind? Like maybe when you get that ant farm, you get the ability to order ants in the mail because the ant farm doesn't come with the ants. You got to mail them in. But when I got my first ant farm, I realized, holy cow, I can send ants to anyone I want to. And they're going to open it up, and now they've got a box of ants coming up. And so that's the way a hacker, I think, thinks is how do you take something and use it differently to get a completely different effect out of it? I don't know. Yeah, it definitely transcends into all other parts of the world.
So like putting coffee in your butthole.
How do you define like the social engineering part for like, how is it that you define those acts of sort of hacking and skipping lines or finding your way in somewhere as social engineering?
I mean, if there's security, if there's some sort of policy that says nobody should be allowed in this place without paying their ticket or being authorized to be here, then that's a challenge to me. I'm like, well, I'm going to find like 6 ways to get around that, because that's just the way I first will think about it. And everywhere I go, I just think about, I could, I mean, you go into the bank and you're like, well, the door to get behind the bank is not even like a full door. It's like a half-size door. I could just jump over that thing. And now I'm in behind the tellers. Like, why is this considered secure? And so I just think about all this all the time. So, I mean, that's what social engineering is. It's hacking the human to get into a place or get some information that you wouldn't normally get. Sometimes it's just calling someone on the phone and getting them to disclose information that they probably shouldn't be giving, like a list of clients or phone numbers to people who they shouldn't be giving phone numbers to, because you're like, hey, look, I've got this deadline. I need this thing. I work in marketing, but I don't have the number to the CEO and I need to call him tonight. Do you have this number or something? Okay, I'll help you. You're on this deadline.
Huh.
Even hacking your own brain. I think we're... Yeah. I mean, if you're active, you're constantly doing that, whether you're reading or learning or talking to people, I guess that in a sense is hacking.
So something that's popular now is security conferences. One of the most popular ones is Defcon, and it's a hacker conference where, I mean, you got people, just like you can imagine a hacker conference, but a lot of people are wearing mohawks and all black clothing. Everyone's wearing black hoodies. It's very hackerish, right? And in there, you see things like biohacking and medical device hacking and every kind of hacking you can imagine, hacking the brain, hacking your sleep patterns, hacking your bank account, like hacking as much as you can. And it's really scary. So it definitely it carries over in everything you can think about hacking.
I was listening to I think it was an Entrepreneur on Fire. What's his name? Dumas. Saying the doctor he had on was talking about how just changing if you change from like the fat intake, because I guess your brain is like 30% fat. So if you just take your fat intake from like whatever, corn oil and all that sort of stuff and start switching it over to your healthy fats, it's like in 3 months it completely switches over and it's like losing an entire layer of fog. But he wrote a whole book on just how you can micro tune your brain into. This guy was like semi autistic. Actually, I don't know if he was semi autistic. I shouldn't say that. He was in special education because he just couldn't keep up. He couldn't do anything. He finally gets with this one doctor and they start changing up his diet, and he ends up on the dean's list for the entire country like 6 years later or 8 years later or something like that. And now he's one of the best doctors in the country.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. That's hacking your brain.
Yeah.
Remember when you used to hack stuff before you just started letting everything slide? So have you hacked your podcast to the top charts yet?
I've listened to a lot of John Lee Dumas myself and done a lot of marketing to get my podcast up there, but I didn't pay those marketers to fake my way up. No,
that's good.
That's interesting. I bet you we've listened to a lot of the same podcasts because I handle sort of that end of things here. So
yeah, Pat Flynn, Tim Ferriss, Gary Vaynerchuk.
I used to like Ray Ortega back in the day before he gave it up. That was the first one I listened to was Ray Ortega.
I haven't checked his out yet.
Yeah, he had the Podcasters Studio.
Oh yeah.
And then there was the Audacity to Podcast with Daniel J. Lewis. And he actually still offers that service for checking all your. He'll pull all your reviews from across all the iTunes countries and email them to you.
Yeah, he's great. He taught me a lot.
It all seems to be U.S. anyway, though. So I suppose before we start wrapping up here, do you have any like tips for our audience on what they should and shouldn't be doing?
I just want to say that your phone number isn't as secure as you think. Give you a scenario here. If you boast on Twitter, oh man, I'm doing great in Bitcoin, and then that's your real name in Twitter somehow, and people were able to like reverse engineer your name to get your phone number because maybe your phone number's on Facebook or something. There's a thing called SIM swapping, which will allow someone to call the phone company basically and say, hey, I got a new phone. Can you please port my number to this new SIM card? And now with that, your phone number being on someone else's phone, think about how all the things they have access to. They can log into your Google by saying, yeah, text me the code, or like they have so many extra layers of access because they have your phone number and they actually have access to your phone.
So because they've actually got the SIM switched over, so they actually have access to your iCloud. Then maybe even
you can start getting your texts and shit.
Yeah. So
don't put your phone number online.
Yeah, but a lot of these websites are asking for it now.
I was just about to put this. I was going to put this phone number online today. I did this. I was going to make this cell phone the Grimerica call-in line. Should I not do that?
I would get a Google Voice number and use that number instead.
The Google Voice doesn't work so well.
You can't even call it with Skype now.
Skype, it just, it's just like. But in retrospect, I don't use this phone number for anything in my regular life.
Oh, okay.
Or any of my like online security stuff. That's all the other phone number.
You remember like 10, 15 years ago, our social security number was like private and personal, and you just don't share it because somebody could use that to steal your identity. Well, now it's kind of like you should treat your phone number like that. Do not give it out freely. And I don't know. It's something I'm still kind of coping with. And it's just kind of one of those eye openers. Like it's important to protect your phone number.
So what about all these sites that are requiring it now? Like if you buy something online, they a lot of them are asking for your phone number now.
Yeah, exactly. And so if somebody gets access to your number, then they can get into all those accounts. That's the scary part about it all.
Jeez.
So, what do you think about the singularity and this
I can
the
even log into your
technocracy that we're living in?
Apple ID.
Yeah, I know.
I've got you.
Yeah.
I got your credit card number. Oh man, I could just ruin your life. Jack, we got to talk offline.
So, what about like the future of the technocracy and how close we're getting to, combining technology with consciousness and all that, and how does hacking in that environment seems pretty scary too. I mean, what are your thoughts on the future of computer tech and consciousness and all that?
Oh man,
I know it's a big question, but
yeah, I mean, I find it fascinating to see like the kind of the progress of like compass and just directions, right? So at first it was like, oh, I know my way there. I don't need a compass. And then, there was like advanced sailors that are like, no, I'm relying on my compass to get me there. And then it was like, okay, let's have a GPS in our car. And other people are like, no, I'm going to memorize my way to get there. I'm not going to rely on a GPS. I want to know how to get there. But then we become so reliant on this GPS that we forget everything, how to get everywhere. And I think that's kind of a peek into that future of like, man, I don't know your number. I don't know your phone number. I don't know where you live. Everything that I need to know about that is stored on this device. It knows where you live. It knows your phone number. I'm just going to rely on that every time. And I don't know, is it that we're offloading this kind of information to allow us to absorb more? Or do we lose something tangible about taking that away from our memory? And yeah, I don't know. I think that's a kind of a peak. And another peak I think into it would be I think when I'm going to become an old man will be when the input of all these devices is no longer a keyboard or mouse or even a touch screen. And it's going to be like a twitter of your ear, move your ear or tap your teeth or just think the thought. And that's how you text someone. And I'm going to be like, no, I need a keyboard. I will not budge off this. I need to be able to input like keys commands. I'm not going to just like twist my wrist in a way to interact with things. So
or I'm not just going to think about that.
You're going to get a port put in.
Yeah, I'm not going to think about that. I want to type it out first.
Can you imagine they just hook it up? Oh man, they hooked that thing up to I didn't even know. I can't even tell you what it's going to say.
Well, we're there already because of the Echo Dot or the home. I don't have any of these things. I don't even know what they're called, but like all the voice command.
Alexa and all those. Yeah.
I smashed our Google one because weird shit started happening whenever it was on.
Yeah, it's freaky. So it doesn't have a keyboard. I'm not tolerating this. I can't. I mean, it's freaky for other reasons, but that's my old man in me of like, I can't just tell a computer what to do. I just don't trust it. I don't. It's going to like mess up everything I say, and it's just not accurate. And that's what kind of freaks me out about the future a little is this lack of being able to input things correctly. It's guessing.
Do you think Professor Ted maybe had it right then?
Who? What's he say?
He wrote the Unabomber Manifesto.
Oh man, what are you reading that for?
We read it. We read it as part of our backdoor content here for our supporters because it's just like he wrote the thing in the 90s, and he's just like his take on it is that it doesn't matter what government's in charge or anything like that. That is the inevitable end of this technology is the autonomy of humans becoming less and less and less and less. And he talks about over socialization and, and this is way before Facebook and MySpace and stuff like that. It's unbelievable.
He kind of predicted our technological climate right now.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's kind of creepy listening to it.
I would have had the same answer as you a couple of years ago. And then, I heard it come up on a couple of shows enough times. So I just read it, you can read it in a couple of hours. And it's just like, holy fuck. I mean, some of it is a little over the top, obviously, but some of it is just like pretty on point for, almost 30 years ago.
Yeah, it's scary.
It is kind of scary because if it keeps going the way he says it's going, then we end up in the Matrix or some shit. What's your take on AI before we wrap up?
On what?
AI.
I'm excited about self-driving cars.
Really?
Yeah. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to just sit there and like not where they're at now, where it's like you have to hold on to the wheel, but like where it's more safe than drivers on the road, and it's really good. So like 6 generations from now. But I'm excited about that. I'm excited about just freeing up more time. I'm a time hacker. I want to find a way to have more time in my life, and I'll shortcut things in order to have more time. And that thing I'm excited about just for that.
That's why you like podcasts, because you can do a million things while you're listening to something.
Yeah.
No, I think you got rid of your number one fucking time hog. So congratulations on that. Working for a living seems to demand the most of my time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we should let you go, Jack. We really appreciate the time, if that's your real name.
What do you got? Let's hear about what you got coming up though first before we let you go.
Yeah.
Like what's your next
year?
couple?
Is there one more
out?
this year? What was the date on the last one?
I had one that came out 3 days ago, I think, and it was all about the NSA of Israel.
Oh, I love that app.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The training of the Israelis in there.
Was there any blowback on that? It seems like anytime you bring up Israel, you get shit.
Yeah, I had some people that were saying I wasn't representing it. I was a puppet for their propaganda.
No.
Which is really hard to research something really deep and not. I got swept up in it. I agree. I did puppet some of it, but the next episode, this was setting up. Okay, so the setup for the next episode is all about Stuxnet, which is where the NSA and Israel hacked into Iran. And then after that is the episode where Iran hacks back.
Oh, wow.
When are you going to do the, everybody wants to know when you're going to do the 2016 election hacking.
That one is tough. That one is hacking the minds. It's less of the machines and more of the minds. The culture has been hacked.
I think that's common enough. It looks like the Russians were able to run everything with $100,000. So we're going to save up $100,000 and we're going to rule the fucking world.
Well, they're going to ruin it. I don't know if they're going to rule it.
Well, that's why we got to band up with our podcast, and we'll get the $100,000 together and we'll just bypass everything. That's it. No more taxes. Anyway, Jack, welcome to the show. Come back anytime. And yeah, it's always fun to talk to another podcaster that knows the trials and tribulations of trying to get a show out weekly or bi-weekly in your case.
Yeah, this was really fun. Thanks, guys, for having me.
Yeah, thanks, man. Keep up the good work. It's awesome.
Merry Christmas. Okay. Are you still allowed to say that in America?
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. Okay, Jack. Bye for now.
All right, bye.
Oh, how do I do this now? I always fuck this up. Oh, and that was our chat with Jack Rhysider. What do you think? I can't wait till the next episode now.
Yeah, it's good. Good work. Yeah. It puts a lot of work into it.
I could see that.
Deep. And it's fascinating because it's internet and hacking. Like, I think he's really hit a niche here, and he's got a head start on anyone who wants to do this kind of work, I think.
Oh yeah, it's great. And they're like the right length too, they're like the perfect length where they don't go too long.
Oh, I wanted to ask him more about the dark web and the Silk Road type stuff and all that. Like, because after that episode
why are you always so interested in the dark web, Graham?
I'm not.
What do you want to buy?
We never talk about it.
What do you want
here.
to buy that you can't buy on the regular internet?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Amazon satisfies my needs.
True.
No, but after that episode that he talked about the takedown of Alpha Bay, I feel like it did scatter everything all over the place. You know, there's no longer this one place to go for all that stuff. So I do think it's changed quite a bit. I mean, we should have got into that a little bit. Anyways.
That would have been the guy to do it with for sure. Well, maybe we could do another show down the road just all about the dark web. Because, I don't know fuck all about the dark web. But anyway, Darknet Diaries, Darknet Diaries, definitely worth checking out. It's snuck its way up my list, a little higher every episode so far. So check it out. While you're on the internet, checking stuff out, check out grimerica.ca/support. Sign up for a monthly there on the PayPal. Don't like PayPal, that's fine, we get it. Head over to grimerica.ca/Stripe. Sign up for a Stripe monthly if you can. Both of those have one-time donation options as well. And all of that helps us pay the bills and helps us hopefully keep the heat on in the new space when we move in a couple of weeks. By the time this episode comes out, we'll be in the new we'll be in the new space when this comes out. So now we've got rent coming up. Support the show, really does help. It just, you'd be surprised how much better you feel after you hit that subscribe button.
Yeah.
Prove me wrong.
Because it really helps us.
Yeah.
It really does.
Prove me wrong. All right,
Couldn't
guys.
do it without you.
We couldn't do it without you, especially you. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We will see you next week.
Your mind's on fire, all the color red in a blue lagoon. In a storm in Bermuda, you've dive bombed into a seashell swoon. Maybe your easiest dreams make sweet perfume. While you're yawning, yet not breathing in a hospital room. Should I call for help? We are drowning in this ocean swell. Let's start from scratch. Quit living these lies and become unattached. The idea of some far-off future is the fuel for your worries. But for God's sakes, time is eternal. Please do not hurry. Please do not fret. Please act now in a way that doesn't lead to regret. Please stop smoking so many cigarettes, so profusely, so profusely. Should I call for help? We are drowning in this ocean swell.